XXFM.
This is Access Houston on 97.9 The Box.
Good Sunday morning. You're listening to Access Houston. I'm your host, KG Smooth. Welcoming. We got a round table. Not the political round table. I just have a table full of people. That's right. The Greeks come out at night, or in the morning in this case. So we've got some AKAs in the building. Hello, ladies, and we got the bros in the building. Well, not the bros, excuse me. We got the Omegas. The Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated is here. The president of RHO Beta is also here, Mr. Antonio Brown. Welcome.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. We also have Miss Christina Allen Crowder, who is an AKA and part of the Longest Day PR and the media chairman. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. The lovely Lisa Brooks, who is a Longest Day volunteer coordinator. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
And Miss Kim Tops, who is the Longest Day subcommittee chairman, and the reason why we're all here today. Good morning, Kim.
Morning.
Good to see you.
Good morning. Likewise.
So you all have gotten together. This incredible fraternity and sorority have gotten together to bring more awareness to something that affects, once again, black people and black folks at an alarming rate, but isn't really spoken of, and that is Alzheimer's disease. And you all have an event that's coming up, the Longest Day. So let's talk about the Longest Day. What is the Longest Day?
The longest day is the longest day of the year.
Mm-hmm.
All over the world, people are gathered together to celebrate the ones that they love that may be suffering from the disease or
Mm-hmm.
that may have the disease, and also bring awareness to the Alzheimer's disease and dementia.
Ah, nice. And so how did you all team up with the Alzheimer's Association to bring awareness to Alzheimer's disease?
So as a part of our international program, Launching New Dimensions of Service, our international president, Dorothy Buchanan,
Mm-hmm.
she selected the Alzheimer's Association as one of the health targets that we would focus on for this past 4 years. So this will be our final celebration under her administration.
Oh, okay. And the Longest Day event, what is that happening?
The Longest Day event is Thursday, June 21st.
Mm-hmm.
And the event that we are hosting, the Alpha Kappa Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, along with RHO Beta Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, is going to be held in 2 sessions. There's a morning session from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and an afternoon session from 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m.
Okay. And what can people expect, Mr. Brown, at the Longest Day?
Well, there's several things that you can expect. We're going to have different games, card games, just to keep your mind busy. Bid whiz, dominoes, things of that sort. We have different classes with the home cooking demonstrations. We're also going to do some type of exercising, yoga exercising, and line dancing, just to keep the body moving. You know, the more you move, the more your mind is calculating how to do things. So that's one of the things that helps strengthen your mind. So when your cells starts to degenerate,
Mm-hmm.
you still have different activities going on. So hand massages will be going on, art therapy, as well as caregivers, stress tests. Because there's a lot of things that's going on with this particular disease. So we want to make sure that everybody is informed. We want to have plenty for everyone to do, and we just want to make sure everybody is good, because it's a tough disease to have. And
Yeah.
Everybody is affected by it.
Yeah, indeed. And Mrs. Brooks, and what made you want to be the volunteer coordinator? That sounds like a lot of responsibility right there.
Well, there are times when you enjoy what you do, and then there are times you just do as you're told.
Well,
So either or. I'm looking forward to the event. It will be a great activity. It was such a successful event on last year, and I'm just looking forward to everyone coming out and supporting the event once again, which is June 21st.
yes, June 21st. And that is going to be at the Alzheimer's Association, which is, no, it's not. We got a new place.
Actually,
Where's it
it's
going to
be at the Fountain of Life Center, which
Okay.
is located at 14083 Main Street at the corner of Chimney Rock and Main.
Okay. Fountain of Life Center at 14083 Main Street. Okay. So, you're listening to Access Houston. Let's let the people know that you are listening to Access Houston. KG Smooth here, talking to the ladies of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the Alpha Kappa Omega Chapter, and the RHO Beta Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. The longest day, which is a celebration of and bringing more awareness to Alzheimer's disease, happening on June the 21st. Is that a Saturday?
Thursday.
That's a Thursday. Okay, Thursday. June the 21st there's 2 sessions, 11 a.m. to 1:30, and then 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So as I was saying off air before we begin the conversation, how Alzheimer's is another disease that affects the Black community at a high rate, and something that we don't talk about. So some people may not even know the correct definition of Alzheimer's and what Alzheimer's disease is and how it affects the brain. Can you please explain just the basic definition of Alzheimer's disease?
Well, with Alzheimer's, is one of the most common early onset of deterioration of the brain.
Mm-hmm.
You start to lose memory, short-term memory as well as long-term memory. And one of the easiest ways of knowing that you're starting to have those symptoms is it becomes harder for you to learn new things and hold on to the memory of that. So there's several other different definitions that you can add on to Alzheimer's, but it's mostly just memory loss.
Memory loss. Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Anybody else got one? Yeah, I see you over there.
Well, one of the things, too, is that people often think that Alzheimer's disease is something new. In fact, it's not new. But if you talk to older generations of people, for example, when I talk with my parents, they say, oh, well, back in the day, people just would say she got old and went crazy, or she started losing her mind, when in fact, those were examples of members of the African American community suffering from Alzheimer's disease, and the forgetfulness and misplacing the keys and confusing people's names, not remembering what day of the week it is, not knowing what time of day it is, what season it is. All of those things are actually what we now know are signs and symptoms of the disease. But years ago, they weren't diagnosed as such, and particularly not in our community with African American individuals. It was just dismissed as something that came along with old age, and you lost your mind. The older you got, the more you lost your mind, and it was just something that was accepted.
Yeah, just as of everything else that has to deal with Black people in the Black community. I mean, we're told to, they're just this, or, you got someone who's dealing with some depression. They'll be all right. Just pray about it, not realizing that, mental health is very vital. Same thing with the Alzheimer's disease. Now, but there's a difference between Alzheimer's and dementia. Now, if I'm correct, is dementia like just, I don't know, like the diet version of Alzheimer's? You know how you got Coke and then you got Diet Coke? It's like Alzheimer's Coke and then dementia Diet Coke?
I guess you could say that it's the early onset of dementia.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be definitely a difference. I mean, you have CTE, different things that's dealing with the brain itself, and those are different categories of dementia.
Of dementia, yeah. So at the Longest Day celebration event, which is on Thursday, June the 21st, the Caregiver Connection Workshop. Expound on that a little bit.
Yes, so we've partnered with the AARP Houston chapter, and they are going to present the Caregiver Workshop, and they're going to give information on, what are the signs of Alzheimer and dementia? What do you need to look for? How do you care for someone that's through the various stages of dementia? What resources are available to them? There are grants available and information that we plan to give to caregivers so that they can have that information to better care for their loved ones. This time last year, I was supporting support for a caregiver, And it was just a very challenging time. She's no longer with us anymore, but it was definitely a challenging time for her family and for ours to be able to, know what to care for her, know what she needs, and just to be able to provide the resources and care and to give her the comfortability that she needed, in her last few days.
Yeah. Wow. And yeah, go ahead.
So we all know that dementia and Alzheimer's is a major thing, but it doesn't only affect the person that has the illness. It affects those members of our families, as well.
That's helping to
members
care
of
for the
community,
person.
because we may have jobs and responsibilities, but when our loved one becomes ill, we have to adjust our entire life to ensure that they have the care, the comfort, someone to come in and look after them. And you may be at work and you have a caretaker, but you're still having the calls and the concerns. So it doesn't affect just that one individual. It affects all of us, our families, and other ones around that love us.
Yeah. I'm reminded of a production that just ended maybe a month or two ago at the Ensemble Theater called The Eighth Day of the Week. And that play dealt with Alzheimer's and the matriarch of the family who was having it, and the family adjusting their lives to care for them. Very poignant. I see you all shook your head. Did you checked out that play? Yeah.
Yes, as a seasoned subscriber to the Ensemble Theater, I was very excited to see that they were doing a work based on that story, and everyone that I know who saw it said that it really left them with an impact to see how firsthand it affects everyone that loves you and everyone around you. And then so many people could relate to that story because we've lived that. Fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of us have lived that.
Yeah. And for those of you who want to know more about the effects of Alzheimer's disease and dementia, they're going to have an educational panel on Alzheimer's disease at the Longest Day celebration, which is on Thursday, June the 21st at Fountain of Praise.
Fountain of Life.
I'm sorry. Look at me. Let me get my stuff right. Fountain of Life. See, it says praise. I'm not crazy.
Fountain of Life, 14083 Main, at the corner of Main and Chimney Rock.
Yes. And also other things that are going to be offered at the Longest Day. I see you got yoga classes, line dancing, food demos.
And we definitely want people to come out and enjoy this event. Part of the purpose is that we want people to have fun. We want caregivers to have a break from what they do every day. We want Alzheimer's patients who are able to come out and join us to be there. And we want the general public there to come and celebrate and learn. And the educational panel is a huge piece of that day because we realize that so many people just don't realize that Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. And I think it was Al Sharpton who said, when white America catches a cold, black America gets the flu. And this is another example of that because when it comes to the African American community, we are twice as likely to have Alzheimer's disease and dementia as white Americans of the same age. And even in looking at after the diagnosis comes, it's more likely that African Americans with Alzheimer's will die from the disease sooner and will have a much harder time dealing with it because of lack of resources to health care and lack of medical resources and lack of education and knowledge. And so one of the things that we are excited about is this opportunity to get everyone involved in learning about this disease, because when someone that you love or when you receive the diagnosis, it's too late to stop and learn about it then.
Yeah, indeed. What do we know at what age is kind of the when one should start looking for dementia or Alzheimer's in a person?
Most of the information that you read will reference the age 65, but the cautionary tale in that is that 1 in 10 people age 65 or older will be diagnosed with the disease, but there is a greater prevalence of early onset dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And I personally know someone as young as 42 years old who was diagnosed, an African-American male, was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease at age 42.
42?
Which is shocking.
Beyond shocking. I mean, that is so young. I wouldn't even think that I don't know. I don't know how the brain works. I'm not a neurosurgeon or anything, a neurologist, but 42 sounds awfully young for onsets of dementia and or Alzheimer's.
Well, and it's something that is happening more and more often, and a lot more people around the age of 50 or early 50s are being diagnosed with early onset. Anything prior to age 65 is technically considered early onset.
Mm-hmm.
So, leading up to those years, it's not unheard of for someone who is not considered a senior citizen in any other way to be diagnosed with the disease that's often associated with the senior citizen population.
Unbelievable. Do we know of anything that a person can do to not have dementia or Alzheimer's? Should they read more? Should they do crossword puzzles? Like, just, I guess, Mr. Brown, to your point, just continue to exercise the brain. Is that what it all boils down to, instead of you sitting on the couch watching that idiot box?
It's very true. My grandmother to this day is 90 years old. She has her crossword puzzles that she do on a regular basis. She try to read on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
The more activity I think that you have, the better chance that you have. There's no cure for it at this time, of course. But the more activity
so they tell us,
you have an opportunity to be more blessed. Of course, physical activity. I would think, as far as black men is concerned, with us playing a lot of sports and things like that, are some of the causes, and can be all of those causes for the early onset dementia.
So if I used to play football back in the day,
it definitely could be a problem. You have the deja vu effect. Things happening. I've been here before, or you run downstairs to get your keys and you looking around and like, what did I come down here for?
Yeah.
So and we don't, we look at it as I'm just, I'm getting old, but we have to start paying attention to those things, because those could be signs if we're not careful. And I think by the time that we find out that, or our family members are the ones that usually see it before we do, that we find out that we're having this issue, is somewhat almost too late. So as you start having those problems early, of loss of memory, headaches, or whatever the case may be, you want to start going to your local doctors and try to find out what's going on, and see how you can start to combat it as much as possible.
Indeed. You listen to Access Houston. We're talking to Christina, Lisa, Kim, and Antonio. The longest day celebration is happening on Thursday, June the 21st at Fountain of Life at 14083 Main Street at Chimney Rock. You all are also going to have blood pressure screenings, some caregiver stress test screenings. Oh, looking out for the caregivers.
Correct.
That is very, very sweet. So have any of you all had any personal dealings with caretaking one who has Alzheimer's?
I have actually supported many people who have been caretakers. And ironically enough, last year in 2017, on the longest day, I lost a family member, an uncle, and he suffered with Alzheimer's disease. And it made the day that much more poignant for me to realize we knew that he was suffering with the disease, but to get the phone call that morning as I was actually on my way to drive to the facility to help set up for our program, just made me realize, how many other people had been in the same situation that I was in that day of receiving that phone call. And so it opened my eyes at a different level to the needed support for caregivers, because we often do forget about them and the sacrifice they're making, but also the reason that we all should care about this. I rarely meet people who haven't been affected, but on the elevator on my way up here today, there was a gentleman who told me he didn't know anyone who had Alzheimer's disease. And I said to him, "You're very fortunate and blessed." And I said, "But that will probably change soon." And not to be the bearer of bad news, but that is one of the few times that I've encountered a person who said, "I've never personally known anyone who has had this disease."
Wow. Well,
And
blessings to you. Go ahead,
And
Kim.
Mr. Smooth, just to give you some statistics on people that are actually living with the disease, there are 5.7 million Americans that are living with Alzheimer's disease. And by 2050, the number is projected to be 14 million. Living
By what
with
year you
Alzheimer's.
say?
2050.
Oh, wow. We got some work to do, y'all.
Yes.
I always
Yes.
encourage people to exercise their brain. You know, people love being on their phones and their tablets and whatnot. Why don't you download a brain game just to exercise your mind so you won't fall into that, or try to read a book. I try to make it my business to read at least, I try to get at least 5 novels in throughout the year. I definitely got, I just found my summer novel. I just found it yesterday. So I'm like, okay, this is that. But I also encourage my nieces and nephews, because I grew up in a household where we would read. I would see my grandmother reading. She would go to the library regularly. My mother read to me growing up. Would see her reading novels and whatnot. And so, not knowing, I just thought that they were just being mean. Like, here, go and read this book. Like, oh, I want to go outside and play. But now, I greatly appreciate it. And now, even as I've gotten older, how important it is to exercise your brain just like you would your body, because if this isn't working, everything else is going to fall to the wayside as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Any last words?
Join us June 21st. Fountain of Life, 14083,
Indeed.
Maine.
And what about social media? Is it can people follow you on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter?
Yes. Information about the event. To register for the event, you can go to Eventbrite and then
www.aka-QUE longest day 2018.eventbrite.com.
Okay, that is the Eventbrite link, www.aka-QUE longest day 2018.eventbrite.com. There you can get all the information that you need and all of that. And we want to see you on Thursday, June the 21st. Christina, Lisa, Kim, Antonio, I really appreciate you all coming on the program. Kim, you wanted to add?
Yes, I have one more thing. And a lot of reason why African Americans are not as knowledgeable about the disease, and the research for African Americans is not there because we don't participate in the trials. And so one of the things we want to make sure that African Americans and Hispanics, brown people know that there are trials available. You can participate in the trials, and then that gives researchers an opportunity to know more specifically about our ethnic groups and our background and our health disparities.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In addition, for the day, it's a fun day. Everything that we're offering is free and open to the public, but we also are raising funds for the research and for the so to make sure that we have funds available to pour into the research of the disease. And I'm confident that we will find the cure for that disease during our generation.
Absolutely. We will find the cure for every disease that is plaguing our community. And because I know that they're out there, they just want to continue to fatten their pockets, But that's a whole nother show right there.
And just a last comment that I have is that June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and the color purple represents Alzheimer's Association. So it is really exciting for us as members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority. Of course, our colors are pink and green, but we wear purple for Alzheimer's. And so we're committed to helping to find a cure for the disease and helping to support those who have the disease. So we invite the entire community to join us in that fight for a cure.
Indeed.
I was waiting for Antonio to chime in with that purple.
Purple is always a good color to wear every day. However, it is special for the month of June, so we invite everyone else to participate and wear. But we're looking forward to being of service to our community and helping in any way we possibly can. So come out and join us and have fun.
He a Q. Of course, he a Q dog. Of course, purple is it.
Yeah,
y'all Q dogs a mess, boy. I try to tell you. Listen, yes.
Omega Man.
And we do have a social media presence as well. Our social media, you can find us at Alpha Kappa Omega.
Alpha Kappa Omega, okay.
On all of the social media outlets. And then the Megas have a page as well.
Of course, we have you can hashtag our RHO Beta Qs as well as PBB Qs at yahoo.com as well. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for coming on the program. We want to see you, so save the date for Thursday, June the 21st at Fountain of Life, 14083 Main Street at Chimney Rock for the longest day celebration. Thank you for educating myself and the listening audience on some stuff. I learned some things today, so thank you. And we'll see you out there on Thursday as well. Yes. Yes,
And
Kim.
Mr. Smooth,
Yes.
the time that we've been here, this interview, every 65 seconds, someone is diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So about 55 people have been diagnosed since we've been sitting here chatting with you.
Now that brings it home.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's something. All right. So let's make a difference and let's celebrate on the longest day on June 21st. Thank you guys for coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Access Houston.
We'll be back with more Access Houston on 97.9 The Box.